Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, tourism numbers are in for the World Cup, and Pioneer Square is celebrating the win. The city of SeaTac wants to build an identity outside of the airport, and the Seattle Kraken are looking for lookalikes for their mascot, Buoy. The weekly Seattle podcast host Rachel Horgan and KUOW editor Phyllis Fletcher are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Today marks the start of the 18-day voting period for Washington's primary election. King County Elections is mailing out ballots, so keep an eye on your mailbox. You can also vote in person with accessible accommodations at voting centers in Seattle, Kent, Renton, Kenmore, Federal Way, and Bellevue. And remember, mailed ballots must be postmarked by August 4th or dropped in an official drop box by 8 p.m. And you can still register to vote online up until July 27th. With yesterday's thunderstorms behind us and temperatures forecast to be in the high 70s to low 80s this weekend, you might want to hit the beach. Sadly, King County is warning there are a few beaches where you and your pets should avoid the water. Jean Coulon Memorial Beach in Renton, Houghton Beach in Kirkland, and Mount Baker Beach in Seattle are not safe because of high bacteria levels. Also, no swimming at Lake Marcel near Duval due to toxic algae. And if you're in need of baby essentials like diapers, wipes, and baby food, head to the Greenwood Fred Meyer this weekend. On Saturday and Sunday, nonprofit Akin will be there giving away free totes full of baby supplies from 10 to 4 while supplies last. They'll also be in Vancouver, Washington at the Hazel Dell Fred Meyer August 1st and 2nd, and in Spokane at the Sullivan Fred Meyer August 22nd and 23rd. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. Not a moment too soon. It's Friday again. Rachel Horgan's here. She's the host of the weekly Seattle podcast. Rachel, good to see you.
Good to see you. Happy to be back.
Phyllis Fletcher's here, too. She's an editor at KUOW. Phyllis, always glad to have you in the studio.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, all right. Before we dive in, some of the world's fastest typers brought their unique skills to Bellevue this week. The National Association of Court Reporters and Captioners held 2 competitions to determine the fastest typer. One competition requires contestants to translate real-time court testimony, and one requires speed transcription to test their shorthand writing abilities. Phyllis, are you a fast typer?
I feel like I'm fast when, like in that court situation, I feel like I would nail it. But it seems like a lot of typing tests, you're reading and typing, and my brain cannot do that. But if I'm hearing, yes, I can. I would love to have a crack at one of those, like court transcriptionists use special keyboards. Yeah. That would be dope. I'd like to see how I could do on that.
Yeah, they're shorthand keyboards.
Yeah.
They're really interesting. Stenographers.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you? Are you a fast typer?
I like to think so, yes. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm pretty good.
I can type very quickly, but I am not accurate, so that is a problem. When you're typing, how do you handle typos? Are you like a go back at the end kind of person, or can you not move forward until you've fixed it?
It generally depends what I'm using it for, but I usually do correct as I go. But a lot of times what I'm correcting is undoing the autocorrect. And I don't like to totally turn it off because I feel like there lies madness as well. And so it's like every time I'm in a new computer environment, I feel like I'm training my autocorrect.
But I think the most embarrassing is when you type a word and autocorrect is like, I actually have no idea what you were trying to do.
Right.
That happens to me a lot.
So far off, I can't even guess what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that is embarrassing.
Yeah, that happens to me an awful lot. These court reporters are serious business. Guinness says the record was set at one of these conferences back in 2004 when Mark Kislingberry wrote 360 words a minute with 97.23% accuracy. That is bananas.
Damn. Yeah. Okay. I'm not serving Mark Kislingberry. I wish.
Where did you even learn to type?
Oh my God, this was the worst thing. I got onto the student newspaper in 12th grade without having to do the Cub version of the paper first. So I was like, yeah, this is great. And this was in the 80s. So I did all of my schoolwork by hand. And then my friend, Dina, who was also the editor-in-chief, when I was done with my amazing first story, whatever that was, she was like, okay, great. Now it just goes into the typesetter. And I was like, oh, cool. How does that happen? She was like, you type it. And I was like, oh no. And so she took me to the Apple IIe and literally sat there with me while I typed in my first story. And that was how I learned to type. So thanks, Dina Gutman.
Rachel, what about you?
I have a memory. I think it was elementary school. I'm 37, so yeah, I think elementary school, middle school. But I feel like there was like this zombie game, and I was fearing for my life if I didn't spell refrigerator in time, and the zombie was going to kill me. And hey, it worked.
Wow,
man! It was a required class in my junior high, and I had to learn on an IBM Selectrix.
Oh, right.
Which sounds like a machine gun if you're actually good at typing.
Yeah.
And we would have these sentences on the board that we would have to type, and the entire room would get going. And
Oh my god!
Mine, I failed typing.
Are they teaching in kids? My friend said they're not teaching it to kids anymore.
I don't think they're teaching typing or cursive. I think those things are lost arts.
Cursive,
really.
I understand, but typing, like, they're still going to need to know it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like you're born knowing how to do it these days, but only with your thumbs.
Right.
Yeah, co-sign that. That's true.
Good point.
All right, moving on to the big story of the week. We're getting some early insight into the impact the World Cup had here in Seattle. The Downtown Seattle Association has the numbers. More than 3 million people visited downtown across the 6 World Cup match days, which is a 17% increase in downtown foot traffic on those same days in 2025. Okay, this is great, but how do we replicate anything close to that? Is our fair city and its new waterfront enough of a draw? Rachel?
Well, this kind of reminds me of when you do really well at a company and your sales are skyrocket one year, and then C-suite's like, cool, do it again, but better next year. And you're like, no, wait, what? So let's maybe set some expectations. I don't know if we're ever going to get as much of a World Cup is huge. I would like to see our city get really creative, and those things like the barge, the Pacific Place watch party, all these things can be done for us Seattleites, not necessarily for World Cup, but it is going to take the businesses to step up. Those were only possible because of business sponsorship. So I'd like to see some of that for us.
I did not ever go down while this was happening, but I kept hearing people talk about how fun it was and those things that you mentioned that people want to have stay, like that barge thing. Like, it sounded really cool and that people had a blast. So I have to say the weather cooperated.
Big time.
Mm-hmm. Seattle was on her game.
For real.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm like, wait, we're supposed to do this every year? How? What? Like, that's a really good point, Rachel.
When the U.S. played on match days, we saw a combined 1+ million people in downtown Seattle. Another big success, Sound Transit broke ridership records. 309,000 riders on the USA-Belgium match day. 5.4 million boardings all through June. The light rail system broke for nearly an entire day shortly after that. Was that actually a lucky break in some ways?
It feels like when you work like a really long program or a big event and then the next day you get sick. Like I feel like Sound Transit was like, I'm out. I need a break.
Yeah.
Rachel, that is actually
Sound
a really
Transit's
good
burnt
point.
out.
Yeah, solid.
Needed a mental health day. Puget Sound Business Journal looked into the business impact, and it was great for Pioneer Square. For instance, DeLeo Pizza's business was up 5 to 6 times the typical volume on match days. And for the USA-Australia match, DeLeo said it was around 11 times higher. That is a lot of pie.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because it's great pizza or it's just familiar and easy.
Look, pizza is good. Okay, let's just start there.
You heard it here
And if I am coming from another country, I would think, yes, of course I want to try American pizza. And so I'm like, I haven't gotten to go to DeLeo's, but like now I'm like, I would go. I mean, it's probably good, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing is there were so many. I was down there quite a bit, and there were so many crowds. And one of my friends said she tried like 3 or 4 different restaurants to go in, and there's a long wait. And when you want to just grab a quick bite and go watch the game, I think the ease of it played into that.
Yeah, a
pizza,
slice.
Man. Yeah.
You can grab a slice. It's
Delicious.
good for sharing.
Yeah.
Good for sharing. It sounds like the Pioneer Square neighborhood was really able to cash in. I wonder if our rep as a great host city will rebound lots of people here over the summer because, hey, we did a great job. It's a cool place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's up to kind of probably our CVB Visit Seattle, and can they capitalize on the excitement that just happened? How are they following up with those people? What commercials are they going to put out next? I think that really, I'm hopeful that they help.
I love when all of those things align where it's like vibes, weather, something cool going on, and people capturing it. Like, that's awesome. I was excited to see that.
Seattle
I love
at its
it.
best.
I love it when like our little best kept secret things get out. Like, I think that's fun, and like when people get to feel like, oh wow, I learned about this cool place, or I've always had this place on my list and I finally got to go, I'm like, I think that's cool.
I think there was always somebody in the comments, though, saying, this is not the way it is all the time.
That's true.
Don't think this is real.
You do have to warn people if they're planning on coming back in like March. You do.
Well, and I think I've talked about this on my show quite a bit, but we are rare in that our stadiums are in our downtown. And I don't know if the rest of the world knew how great that actually is. And that walk from the waterfront, that march to the stadium, and being able to grab food, the pizza, all of that, I think was huge for Seattle tourism.
Yeah, that alchemy was really important for the games. Another big victory for Seattle was at the waterfront. It was a goal for the city to get the waterfront's renovation project done before we welcomed the world, and it certainly paid off. Nonprofit Friends of Waterfront Parks had almost 540,000 unique visitors visited the downtown park in the first 2 weeks of the festivities. The waterfront is a representation of Seattle's big changes, and the photos of gatherings and watch parties were absolutely breathtaking. Will this be the World Cup legacy here?
I honestly think yes. I think that picturesque with the water in the background and hundreds of people watching every single game. I was down in Pioneer Square. I think that was very, very cool too. But I think there's something about the waterfront that really captivated it.
I got to shout out the local Sounders FC and the Rain clubs for putting on a lot of that party. I got a little blowback last week for not bringing that up. So here is your much due recognition for putting in a lot of time, money, and effort into making that experience wonderful for our international and local visitors. Of course, not all sunshine and rainbows for Seattle's World Cup party. Advocates from the Chinatown International District say their neighborhood did not benefit from being a host city, despite its proximity to Lumen Field. The owner of Anoy Bake Shop took to social media and said World Cup match day had produced some of the worst sales days of his career, which is really unfortunate. Advocates and business owners held a Come to CID march and rally on the final Seattle match day, and I did see a lot of people turned up to support that. One neighborhood celebrating, another neighborhood feeling overlooked. What can we say about this?
That stinks, man. And I'm like, is there something that maybe could have been done earlier in the process? Like, did we need like literal arrows on the ground? Like maybe that
the whale
would have
tails
been
were not enough.
Yeah, like we needed something, because you don't want to miss out on that when you're here. It's such a cool part of the city that I always take people to, for sure.
I agree. It's super disappointing. I think it may not be as simple as, the city didn't help us. I think there's part of that is true. I think they spent a lot of their marketing dollars on Pioneer Square. But I also want to think, how many hotels are in that area? When people are researching ahead of time, what's coming up when they're researching it? Are more of the bars and places to sit and watch TV more popular than some of those restaurants that are up there? I also want to know, what was it like for Belltown? What was it like for Beacon Hill? I also wonder, they talk about police helping with the kind of open air drug use that might have played into it. Did we have enough police? Were the police overworked down in Pioneer Square? So I have a lot of questions. It's definitely a bummer. And I do think that, we could have done a little bit more to help them.
Yeah. And you're missing out on some fantastic food if you're not headed to the CID. For real.
Please.
Is it more important than ever to show up and spend in the CID?
It's always important, and it's also never too late. And if you are listening to this timely, you should go to the Chinatown International District Seafair Parade on Sunday at 7 o'clock. It is so fun. You can get there early. You can go out to eat before or after. There's just so many other cool things in that neighborhood also to just see and walk around. Go this weekend. I might be there. And it's really fun. I think it's like the coolest of all the Seafair parades.
Awesome. Head out to the CID and see the Seafair Parade. All right. Moving on to our next topic. A piece from a friend of the show, Tan Vin, this week about the city of SeaTac trying to find its identity outside the shadow of the airport. A report commissioned by the city ahead of the World Cup said SeaTac lacks an identity outside of the airport and doesn't have a community feel. SeaTac doesn't even have a true downtown, apparently, despite having 32,000 people living there. What is SeaTac's identity?
Poor SeaTac. I mean, I am, being of the advanced age I am, I remember when SeaTac was unincorporated. And so I have always associated it with the airport. Almost every reason I've gone to SeaTac has been airport related. It's hard to think of it without the airport and think of it as its own thing. But maybe that's just me being limited. I don't know.
Well, I have an embarrassing story. I was living in Seattle maybe a couple years, not that long, and I worked in events, and my marketing person, we were advertising an event at the Hilton in SeaTac, and we had this flyer, and she wrote the address, and she wrote SeaTac, Washington. And I go, oh, hun, sorry, that's not a city. It's Seattle, Washington.
Oh.
And I was like, SeaTac is just an area. And she was politely being like, no. So that's when I learned that SeaTac is a city. So yeah, I think it probably has some work to do. It's
funny. I think the Hilton is the only place I've been in SeaTac for some kind of media event.
Right, work stuff.
Yeah, work stuff, man. And to the airport. We've talked on the show about the rebranding of SeaTac Airport to SEA.
Right.
I hate it.
Which is heresy.
It's so weird. I'm not used to that yet.
Is our insistence on calling the airport SeaTac holding the city of SeaTac back?
Oh. I don't know. I think lean into it. I think, like, I went to a bar where it was on the flight path in a different city, and every time a plane went over, the board changed and said what the flight was and where it was going.
Oh, cool.
I love that.
I've gone to another one. Every time a plane goes over, you get $1 off your wine or whatever it is. So, like,
lean into it.
I say it's a theme. Lean into it.
They're that marketing background, Rachel. Good
if
for
SeaTac
you.
already has it, people already know what SeaTac is. Just play off it. Don't try to make something new.
Get in touch with Rachel.
And there is some good food there, I have to say. I know my entire map of the region is food driven, so I can admit that right now. But that is the one reason that I used to frequently go to SeaTac for non-airport reasons. There was a Thai restaurant there that was dope, that it was in an old A&W root beer, so it had a cool parking situation and everything. I love that. I love getting to, find places like that and learn about them and eat there. It was great.
Well, to combat this supposed lack of identity, SeaTac has set up community hubs, two of which are beer gardens and one of which they're calling a welcoming plaza. They're places for people to gather, and they were especially helpful as people streamed from the airport to the World Cup. We all love Seattle here, but what does a neighboring city need to have to get you out of Seattle and into the suburbs? What draws you out of the city?
I mean,
the airport.
Food. For me, it is always food. Yeah, I can totally support the beer garden idea and the bars and stuff like that. But you do need to then think about, okay, then how are people getting to whatever their next destination is? That has to be practical too.
I'm not much of a foodie, so I think my answer would be community. I used to drive 30 minutes over to Madison Valley. Not convenient, obviously, but I started to get to know the bartenders there. They created a welcoming space. You get to know the other regulars there. I think that if you create a space that's welcoming and intentional and sometimes holding events that bring people over there too, I think that can help.
Yeah. One SeaTac City Council member is particularly bullish on brewery culture and beer gardens because they create a natural third place. Does alcohol hold the key to a good gathering space? What else should they put in those beer garden spaces? Music, maybe? Games.
Yeah, some games.
Yeah,
I think more than we've seen these studies that people are drinking less, and I think it's an oversimplification to think that it's just about the beer. And I hope that they think about this when they're building the brewery. Is that part of the draw? Is that you can go up and order at the counter and sit down and stay for as long as you want. You don't have a thing that says you have to leave in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
If a friend wants to show up, you don't have to pull up another chair. Right. You don't have a server. You can go get whatever you want. I think there's also a draw for being able to meet up with somebody and bring your kids and also have a drink and leave when you need to leave with your kid. So I think it's more of the vibe and the what kind of chairs, all of that plays into it, and outdoors. And a lot of times you see that in breweries.
This is in part about a changing narrative. It's hard to get out of the shadow of an airport because the city actually has more than 6,000 hotel rooms.
Damn.
Another piece of SeaTac's identity is it has a lot of airport employees there. They were, one of the first cities in the U.S. to pass the $15 minimum wage.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, they are trying these beer gardens. And on the south end of town near the Angle Lake stop, there's now a concert venue and a farmer's market, which sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
The city's even offering free leases until the end of the year to the brewing companies in these new beer gardens. So they're really trying to entice people to get down there and set up a business that will draw people in. What does a town with such a strong travel identity need to do to change its narrative? Rachel, you said lean in, but I wonder, is SeaTac heading in the right direction here? Are they taking off?
Oh, I see what you did there. Well, first of all, I appreciate that they're trying something.
Sure.
You know, they're not just going to complain. They're going to try. And if it doesn't work, whatever. At least they're getting some businesses out there. I stand by my lean in. It reminds me of, you remember Iceland had a lot of layovers. And so they did this program called the Stopover Program where you can stay up to 7 days and not be charged extra, explore Iceland, etc. So what if there's something like, hey, since our airport is pretty far from our city center, especially people that live up and north, you know, come down, spend your night before your flight in SeaTac, do these things, and we'll provide the transportation to the airport. Whatever, lean into that and create some marketing around it.
That's so smart. I would totally do that. That sounds fun.
Or on your way back, instead of coming directly back to your family and kids, maybe sneak in one more night by yourself.
Honestly. Well, you know, it's funny you say that because the light rail ride from SeaTac Airport up to Seattle is my favorite part of the flight home because it's my decompression. It's hard to separate me from SeaTac.
That sounds a lot more peaceful than what I used to do, which was take the 174.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
Yeah. No.
Yikes. If I was coming in too late for the 194, I would be stuck with the 174. It makes every stop. And it was rough. It was rough.
All right, we're pulling this train away. One last thing before we go. Seattle loves its lookalike contests, and another one is hitting the ice. Tonight, the Seattle Kraken are holding a lookalike contest for their troll mascot Buoy during an open skate at the Kraken Iceplex. Winner gets a Buoy-themed bag of goodies. What's in that? Buoy, though, kind of a divisive figure. Are you a Buoy fan? We should get that out of the way right now.
I hadn't really spent much time thinking about it until yesterday. It is confusing that it's a troll and it's named Buoy. Like, why not be a buoy?
Right.
And then the team is a Kraken, so you could be a Kraken.
Right.
Seems like kind of a lot.
I know.
Oh.
Who is the best Seattle mascot?
Dubs. I love Dubs because Dubs is an actual dog. I think they're on Dubs 2 by now.
They are.
But I'm also a Dubs fan because I got my picture with Dubs when I graduated. And it's really cute.
I like
and
Dubs,
he liked
too.
me. Yeah.
I was going to go with the fish sticks.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fish stick.
I went to my first game,
Aren't
and
they
the
fun?
mascot was an actual fish stick. And then they had kids dress up as condiments and race.
Yes.
I was here for it.
Shout out to the fish sticks. I am so glad you brought them up, Rachel. What a fun experience. Yes.
That's hilarious.
When this mascot Buoy was launched a few years ago, the reaction was mixed. We went back to the R Seattle Reddit thread to see what people were saying. Here are some highlights. Aberdeen Shrek.
Oh, no.
The Jar Jar Binks of hockey mascots.
No.
Yikes.
What is this, Disneyland?
Oh.
Safe to say, though, Buoy has grown on us just a little bit over the years. Is this a lookalike contest you would ever want to win?
God, no.
I go the other way. I say yes because I'm like, look, if you're already existing in the world, embodying that physicality, go for it. Like, this is your time
Make some
to
money.
cash in. Yeah, get the blue wig or the hair dye or whatever. Get yourself like a a hot press so your hair is like very straight and cut it into a mullet and win that thing.
God.
Man. Win it.
If I win, send me on a makeover show.
Oh no. Oh.
All right, and we are going to leave it there. Rachel Horgan hosts the weekly Seattle podcast. Phyllis Fletcher's an editor here at KUOW. Thanks, Phil.
Hey, thanks. This was fun.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. We're hosting our own lookalike contest for people who look like they'd rate and review the show in their podcast app. Come on, do it. It'll just take a minute. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Andy Hurst, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. Talk to you tonight for Evening Headlines.